Hi, I'm Zach Fagenson with Miami Today, and I'm here in Coral Gables for an interview with Jack Lowell, the new chair of the Beacon Council. Mr. Lowell took over the agency as its volunteer leader a couple weeks ago, and during his one-year term, he's got his work cut out for him. It's currently in the midst of replanning the One Community, One Goal effort, which could redefine the county's economy over the next decade, and it's also planning an international air show on par with the one in Paris, held every other year. He'd also like to see a lot of the agencies, such as local governments and also volunteer business groups, work together to set their legislative agendas on the same path.
We have some folks who are already here. I think it's more positioning a couple of groups to pay attention and just provide the communication between the firms that are going to be doing some of the research here and the money sources. So that's an intermediate role that we can figure out who should play that role. Now, the Wexford project is actually ideally designed for incubator and startup firms in the research area. So I think it's a great facility, a real plus for us. We have goals set up each year for the number of firms we're trying to attract and the amount of jobs that would create. And it's a process. Our role really is facilitating the process. So the first thing you do with a firm is you try and solve their problems. We're problem solvers primarily. We can be implementers of the funding sources to the extent they qualify. So the first thing to do is educate. So one of our roles is we'll meet regularly with real estate brokers, site selectors, and so forth, and explain to them what the programs are that are in place in the state of Florida to assist firms coming in or expanding. Then the second phase is to do a quick and very confidential analysis of a firm and say, all right, you do qualify for these several routines. Now, key to what we do is to be sure that the various funding sources are maintained by the legislature and that the county is an active participant in this, because our process is we start with a firm, we do the application, we submit it, everything goes through the county. And once it's gone through the county and gotten approved, then it goes to Enterprise Florida and then it goes to the governor's office. And key to many of our efforts is a governor's closing fund. Visa, as an example, used that fund. Now, this last year we did a gap financing routine with Beacon Council's own money. Prior to the governor's closing fund actually committing their funds, we were pretty well sure, 95% sure, that that money was going to come back to us. But even so, we took a risk in order to convince Visa, because we were competing with Virginia, that we were the community was really committed to bringing them here with the additional jobs and keeping them here. So we manage the process, but it goes through 4 phases. Texas, they have 10 times the governor's closing fund that we do in the state of Florida, and Georgia. You know, they were preaching the fact that there were much lower cost areas to do business. Now, Georgia, because of our change in our real estate markets, I think we are as competitive. So as a result, we are now getting many more inquiries out of the Northeast than we were a year or so ago. Now, the good news is these things are done so confidentially that I don't even know who they are. But Frank and the staff, Steve Beatus heads up that section of the Beacon Council, are very good at doing confidential analysis for everybody and then managing the process. But what I'm hearing is that we're seeing more out of the Northeast than we have in the past. And from Europe, we've had a pretty good run of Spanish companies. We continue to have strong interest from European community.